Good evening. We'll continue the meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We went into executive session. We're now out. Roll call's been done. Mr. Tropiano, announcements?
Announcements. Mr. Titlebaum.
No, plus I don't have a microphone.
Hey, that's good.
Well, that's
Can you go faster?
going to be quiet over there tonight.
He doesn't need one anyways.
Ms. Whiteside.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple, or actually I have several.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago in the Globe Sunday magazine, there was an article about towns finding difficulty in filling open jobs in terms of committees and boards and commissions. I gave each of you a copy of it. I gave a copy to a town administrator, and I hope that you've had time to look at the articles. Mr. Slavin and I have been talking for about a year about consolidating different boards and commissions, and we're not the only town in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts thinking about that. There was a pretty definitive article, Wareham faces cuts to library and senior center, and the date of this again was June 29th, so it was an article that talked about really the library cuts and the issues that might be facing people who are either seniors or who are related to seniors. And again, I hope that you look at that. Then there's sort of a funny article about a beach in California and how the person who wrote the article couldn't find the beach and nobody could give them the right directions, you know, because the signs were all backwards and all sorts of things. But it was kind of a Stephen King experience trying to find the right beach. Just sort of a little bit of humor. I'd like to congratulate the people who are part of the solution and not part of the problem. I'd like to say thank you on behalf of this board to the group of people who are painting the fencing on South Boulevard. Great idea, looks great. I'd also like to invite the community to support the group called Rising, whatever it is, hang on. Project Uprising, which is a group of kids from a local church who have already spent an entire day cleaning up the Wee Wee Antic playground, and they are working on a conclusion to that on June 13th, which is a Sunday. The pavilion there needs to be totally re-shingled, re-roofed, and we have gotten a donation, we being the organizers, from a company of 23 sheets of ply sheathing and 8 squares of roofing shingles, donated by Heritage Wholesale of Braintree, Mass. That material will be delivered to the playground. My kids used to play soccer on that playground 25 years ago. It was in pretty rough shape at that time, but it's in really rough shape now. And then I'd like to just make a comment, I guess. And maybe now is not the right time to make it, but it seems to me that there are a lot of people who are complaining about some of the things that have happened, that are going to happen, and that are probably going to happen as a result of an inability to increase revenue in this town. I suggest, and I hope, that the energy that is being expended in complaining could be turned into positive action, like the people who are painting the boards and the signposts, like the kids who are cleaning up playgrounds, like the kids who have cleaned up this playground over here. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. There's a lot of angry energy, and if you have complaints, you should have suggestions as well. That's simply the appropriate thing to do.
Mr. Tropiano?
I'm all set. I have nothing here.
Okay, have to give me a few minutes here.
You're on.
I'm on. Wareham Summer of Celebration Final Events. This is the last week. I'll be happy when it's over. I'm tired. It's been a long run. I'm getting old, I think. I'll read off the dates and what's going on. Right downstairs in the town hall, not this building, obviously, at the auditorium, there's some really very nice historical displays from a whole bunch of different pieces of the community. We have schools, we have neighborhoods, organizations, churches. This is all being done again by separate organizations, and it's really worth spending 15, 20 minutes to go down and take a look at what's there and support these people who have really gone out of their way to show what Wareham's about and going back 275 years. Actually, I believe the display goes back to the beginning of the town, which goes back into the 1600s, so I hope everybody will take that time to do it. The time frame is 12 o'clock to 7 o'clock today and tomorrow, and then 3 to 4 on Thursday. We're going to have a raising of the flag on July 10th, which is Thursday at 8 a.m. at the Onset Bluffs for Onset, the beginning of our birthday celebration. We're going to have a church service at 12 p.m. at the First Congregational Church at Gibbs Ave. We will have an incorporation reenactment with music speakers. We have a horse and rider, and the rider will be basically portraying Israel Faring. That will be at 2 p.m. at the front steps at Town Hall. I believe also there's going to be somewhere between 3 and 4. Mr. Santos is doing a presentation on who's who in Wareham, people who have gone and done a lot of things for the town over the years and have contributed to what's going on. The actual birthday party itself will be at the high school athletic field in Viking Drive from 4 to 9 p.m. There'll be a cake out front. Please don't try and bite into the cake. It's actually wooden styrofoam. It looks real, though. We have Saturday, July 12th. That's the parade. The parade probably is going to be a good 2-hour-plus parade. So if you're going to be out there, please make sure you wear head protection if that's real hot out, and bring some water with you. Bring a plastic bag for your rubbish, too. That parade will start exactly at 10 o'clock in the morning. It will go down, kind of merge from Minot, Bessie Park, and Merchants Way. We'll merge at that point, go down on Main Street all the way through, come up around Center Park, go up to Gibbs Ave, and go down Gibbs Ave all the way down, and then come back on basically Marion Road and go into Viking Drive. We also have a ball on July 12th, and that at the Makepeace Tohonet Road facility, the Box Mill. Tickets are $30 a person. Public Safety Day is Sunday, July 13th. Hi, Steve. Public Safety Day is going to have all the town departments involved in the safety demos, canines, touch-a-truck, antique hand tub muster, and more. That will be from 1 to 5 p.m. Location, again, Viking Drive Middle School. And then there'll be a vintage baseball game, 1860 style, between the Hingham Coopers and the Bristol Blues with Downtown Boston Brass Band. Again, that's Sunday. That'll be 5 p.m. at Spillane Field. I got a call today. The Cape Flyer is going to try a new experiment. Mrs. Whiteside hopefully can help me out with this. They're going to try and promote from Boston to bring people down to see a Cape Cod League Gateman game. It'll be this Friday. We have to get in touch with GATRA to try and get bus service over there. They're promoting it right now. There's 2 more games later in the year also, and they're going to try and do that as well to promote the new Wareham stop. So they're really working hard to make this train stop work for us long term. I think that's all I've got. Oh, yeah, Community Associates. It's a local group of business people that do a lot of things for the town, do scholarships, etc. They have their clam bake at the Zecco Marine July 16th. You can get a hold of Jimmy Bruce at Morse Lumber or Ricky England at Legacy Insurance to buy tickets. Tickets are $50 a person. Give me a minute while I go through all the paperwork.
Just let me add to the record, Mr. Holmes has arrived 7:15.
Thank you.
Apologize for my Italian.
Not a problem. That's it, I'm good.
All right. Next up, citizens' participation.
Well, we'll start at the front. Mrs. Dunham? Actually, why don't you both come up since you're both dressed very nicely?
No, Sunday best.
Clothing's a little old, though.
Good evening. Mrs. Whiteside, you were asking about my fashion advisor and where I got my outfit earlier. I'll leave that information for you before I go. A couple of things.
Looks like you
had
borrowed it
already-
from the Historical Society.
Yes. There are a couple of things. The historical displays that are in Town Hall Auditorium, as Mr. Slavin discussed, I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank each and every department, group, neighborhood association, organization, whomever, took part today in the historical displays in Town Hall Auditorium. I cannot tell you how pleased I was with all of the displays, all of the time, work, and energy that went into those displays. It was beyond my expectations, and I urge the public to please come down and support your community. They did a fabulous job. The other thing I want to talk about is, again, Mr. Slavin touched on the Founders Ball. I want to leave a phone number and a little more detail. If you are interested in Founders Ball tickets, please call Bob Blair at 508-748-6671. Again, it's 508-748-6671. And Mr. Blair will reserve your tickets for you. You need to have your check into Mr. Blair. Give him a call. Founders Ball, again, is this Saturday evening. It is semi-formal. It's not obligatory period dress. And there'll be dance music and plenty of food. That's it. Yes, the Founders Ball will have signature foods from various restaurants, and the group positivity will be the dance music. And it'll be a good time. So I hope to see you all there, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to plug the events
At Makepeace.
at AD Makepeace Box Mill. Thank you.
And come down and visit us. We'll be there tomorrow.
Yep. Noon to 7.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunham. Thank you, Winner.
Hands up.
Mr. Walton?
Good evening. I don't want to take everybody's time up, but I want to add on to what Alan had to say and what the young ladies had to say. I had some business in the town hall today, and I thought I would stick my nose into the auditorium. I'd probably figure a half hour to walk around. Well, an hour and a half later, I walked out, exceptionally surprised and impressed. These people put together a fabulous display over there, and everybody should know it's free. It tells a lot about the town of Wareham. It's something that people should be very proud of and learn something about the town. There's photos there. There are people there not bothering you, but if you have a question to ask, they are there to answer it for you. And it is exceptionally interesting. It's something a parent should bring a child, or if just for your own curiosity, find a little about the history of the town of Wareham. It is really well done. I cannot applaud loud enough for what a great job they did. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Slavin?
Good evening. Only two things. Thank you very much for the porta potties. I appreciate it, the neighborhood appreciate it, and the bathers appreciate it. Number two, what is the status of the master plan?
You can kill her.
I have nothing to say.
No comment?
Nope.
It's been a year and a half. I'd like to get it going. Thank you.
Anybody else? Just want to make a very quick comment before we go on to the next piece. We have a lot of people in town that do things, and and they never say much of anything. They just go ahead and do things. And I'm afraid that we're slowly burning people out because as we have less and less funds to do things, people get frustrated and they look at their work and they question why they're doing anything. I would just like to bring out that the celebration group, which has been a lot of work for a lot of people, never came to town really and asked for anything. You know, they never sat there and taxed any kind of the town's services. This group has basically gone ahead and just done things without sitting there complaining or anything. They've put on an amazing amount of, events. They've all worked well. They promoted the town very well, and I just like to thank them all and remind everybody that, as Mrs. Whiteside said, let's be part of the solution than the problem. Nobody's coming in to help us. The state's not going to help us. The federal government's not going to help us. The only one that's going to help us in these hard times is ourselves, and it starts at the base ground level. We need to help each other out. We need to help our friends out. We need to help the town out. Thank you.
Next up is appointments. Rachel Kuklinski, not here. I move we appoint Rachel Kuklinski to the Library Board of Trustees to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. Any questions?
Just for the record, this is a reappointment, not a new appointment, so that's why the applicant isn't here tonight.
Not a problem. Unheard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Thank you.
I move we appoint Larry McDonald to the Audit Committee to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Malcolm Piney.
Finney.
Finney?
Finney.
Finney, is that what it is?
Yep.
Michael Finney?
He's downstairs.
Finney.
He was
Okay.
downstairs working.
All right, no problem. I move we appoint Michael Finney to the Historical Commission to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2017.
Did you
Second.
say Michael or Malcolm? You
Said
said Michael.
Malcolm.
I'm sorry, Malcolm.
Motion by Mr.
Did I say Michael?
Tropiano, second by Mr. Titlebaum. Any questions? All those in favor?
Never
Aye.
mind the Michael.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Okay, next up is licenses and permits. The first one I have is for Gleason Family YMCA. Come on down. For Saturday, August 23rd, 2014, between the hours of 7 and 10, to be held at the YMCA at 33 Charge Pond Road in Wareham.
Correct.
Go ahead and explain to us what you...
This is the 10th anniversary of the Gleason Family YMCA. We're going to have an event at the Gleason YMCA that evening from 7 to 10 p.m. We'll be shutting down the YMCA a little early in the day. We're having a magic show at 8 o'clock by Lynn Dillies. We are submitting an application for a liquor permit for the evening. We're going to have a cash bar as part of our event, and we will also have food catered by Harriet's Catering in Marion.
Okay, everything's here, guys. Anybody have any questions?
Take a motion.
May I just ask for the record that the petitioner identify herself for the record?
Oh, my name is Kathleen Longfield,
Thank you. It's
Okay.
not.
Events and Marketing.
Okay, all right, so I move that we approve the one-day all-alcoholic beverage license for the YMCA, Gleason Family YMCA, Saturday, August 23rd, 2014, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. to be held at the Y, 33 Charge Pond Road, Wareham. The license is granted in conformity with statutes and ordinance related thereto and expires on August 24th, 2014, unless sooner suspended or revoked.
Second.
Before I ask, I'm looking at the insurance policy here. I don't see the liquor liability separate coverage on this form. They may have made an error.
It's...
I've got an umbrella liability, but I don't see the liquor separate. Normally it's marked separately.
Yeah, I think that's what the one I thought it was. The excess liability is right there. I thought that was their liquor liability.
I don't think so.
All right, so,
Well, we are obtaining a beverage catering service, and the beverage catering service has a liquor liability. We have to pay for their
could I...
the liability insurance. So we
could
have
I
to pay.
have it?
All I have is an email. I don't have the formal contract for them yet. We
All
have
right, so can you get a copy of that to us,
Sure.
please?
Sure, it's their
Amend
liability.
the motion,
for
make it
beverage.
subject to.
Making, the motion I made will be subject to that.
My second will be subject to that.
insurance.
Any
Okay.
questions? Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Thank you, have fun.
Thank you.
Buzzards Bay Productions, Play Productions, come on down. All right, you're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, July the 11th, 12th, 23rd, 26th, and we've, one of the things I want to mention to you is that we have a policy in place that requires these things to be acted on within a certain time frame, and 3 days doesn't really cut the mustard. So we're gonna need to try to get these in a little quicker, okay?
It actually was, may I?
Yeah.
It was actually in on June 26th, and if we hadn't
Thank you.
not met, it would have been okay.
Yeah, we didn't meet for...
It was, this gentleman has been reminded of that several times.
Okay.
Just the one point again, on the insurance policy.
Now, I talked to my insurance, my name's Frank Rogers, for the
Yeah,
record.
we know.
We don't,
All right.
We've seen you.
I've talked to the insurance company, and they thought that $3 million was a little excessive.
well, again, we're going by what our insurer tells us we should be carrying. So you need to look into
I
that.
mean, I
We'll
have...
let it go for now, but we need to get it
All
resolved.
right, so we should talk.
Yes.
All right.
Well, it isn't a matter, well, let's, MEMA, right, has counseled us and decided that that's what they want for limits. They are our insurance company, they're the ones that protect us. And so if that's what they want for a limit, that's what it's gonna be. So in the
Well,
future,
it just puts a burden
in
on
the
us.
future, that's what it's gonna have to be, unfortunately. We're holding everybody to the same standard.
So everybody in town has to have...
Everybody is meeting the same standard, absolutely.
All right.
And a matter of
because-
fact, up until this time, we've made sure that everybody did. We just didn't catch that right off the bat, and that's really my fault.
All right, because that's another couple of $1,000s a year for us. I mean, it's,
I-
we are a nonprofit, and
I know.
believe me, we're at that point. We're
Well, I
not making
understand
money.
that, but this is, you know how insurance is today, you know how
Oh, I know.
liability is today.
Yep.
And it isn't, we're trying to protect Wareham, the town, and that's
All right.
really where it comes in. I apologize if it's a problem for you, but it's just gotta happen, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll
All right.
also reach out to the insurance company and to MEMA and find out exactly the reasoning, so we'll have an explanation for you why. Because it used to be a $1 or $2 million prior.
Right, well, we have the $1 million, and we talked to our insurance company,
What?
but our insurance company even said
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
felt it was
1, 2, 3,
excessive.
4.
That's all.
I think it probably goes back, most likely, without taking a lot of time, to what they're looking for as liabilities on their own end.
Hmm.
Kinda-
Because they insure us and we're self-insured that way.
All right, I move that we approve one-day liquor licenses for wine and malt beverages for Buzzards Play Productions, Inc. for July 11th, July 12th, July 23rd, and July 26th, 2014, from 7 to midnight, to be held at 3065 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham. The license is granted in conformity with the statute and ordinance related thereto, and expires on July 27, 2014, unless sooner suspended or revoked.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. Any questions? Mr. Holmes?
So, Patrick, where did you end up? Maybe I misheard you. Where did you end up with the liability
He's
coverage for this event?
They're gonna, he's gonna make the correction,
Ah.
although I think we
Should be part of the motion.
we have to make it as part of the motion, right?
Just like we just did for the
It'll
other
be
one.
part of the motion to correct the insurance, obviously.
Thank
You want to redo your motion?
Yeah.
No, I just added on.
And add on to that,
Second,
yes.
there you go.
All right, so what Mr. Holmes just said, does that mean that I have to get all of that in place before I do these last 4?
Yes, that has to get in place. You have to go get the correct insurance as part of the stipulation, yes.
For these 4 permits?
Yes.
All right, so you need a binder.
Did I what?
Yes,
You
sir.
need-
We just need a new insurance binder
Yeah,
that
we
shows
need
the
a new
level.
binder.
I apologize again, but we did tell everybody we had to do this 2.5 months
We've
ago.
been saying it for quite some time now. So
Okay.
It's what they make us do, and that's what we're gonna assume that our insurance
Because
company.
I was under the impression that, well, I asked before if there was a reason that that happened.
What happened was, it's real simple. We went ahead and sent a copy of our insurance to Maya to make sure we were complying with what they required, and they came back and said, no, you need to change your levels to these numbers.
Because I was wondering if anything had happened or something that created
No,
that.
it's just a standard thing. Every once in a while, you need to check to make sure we're covered properly.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that the office staff gives out the correct information, that our applications,
They have it on file, and I keep reminding them, but it seems to slip through the cracks.
well, no, it ought to be in writing.
It is.
Well, how can it slip between the cracks if it's in writing?
It should be in the current form. It should be part of the current package, which shows a copy of it. I will go through it again.
Please.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Whoa.
Nice one. Do that again.
Jeez.
I bet you could do that
Look,
again.
it's not what Mr. Holmes wants, or it's not what the board wants. We're governed and ruled by the state, obviously, and we are given license to issue out licenses for liquor in the
Yep.
state of Massachusetts. So if the town's insurance company, and I'm going to ask the chairman to allow town council to comment on this, because it's an important issue. If the insurance company claims that the town has to carry, let's say, $5 million every time we issue one of these policies, and this board knowingly approves a license with $1 million on it, and God forbid, right, something happened, and then the claim goes to our insurance company, and they say, well, the five of you all knew that you had to have $5 million, and you allowed it to go $1 million, they may not cover the claim. I don't know if that's accurate, but I would ask the chairman if he would indulge us and have town council give us the scoop on that.
Go ahead, Mr. Bowen.
After, and I might just add at the end, after Meyer has already told us what the rules are. If we violate their rules and approve licenses, what would be the end result?
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't want to say anything that might constitute an admission in a later proceeding against the town. That being said, it would certainly be... No, I wouldn't ask him either.
You'll get the same answer.
I would just say that if our insurer is telling us that we should be requesting a certain dollar amount, then I'm sure there are excellent reasons for their doing so.
I guess it would be revenue. No, I understand, I
Okay.
understand. You're handcuffed to that. But I was just wondering where I was at, because it's gonna cost us another couple of $1,000.
I understand.
So, all right.
Sorry.
I'll do what I can do. I know. Thanks.
Okay, next is the Cedar update. Come on down.
Good evening, Mrs. Connaughton, Mr. Pena.
How you doing?
This is our usual, more or less, monthly meeting and update. Floor is
Seems like
yours.
we were just here.
You were, but we're catching back up to the right time
I had to
frame.
go check the agendas.
I know.
Thought we were early.
Floor is yours.
Okay, I guess I'll start with a request. We have reviewed a document that we've been asked to sign, and we've had it reviewed by our attorneys, and it's been voted on to sign by the CETA board. However, before we sign it, we feel that it's important that we brief the Board of Selectmen before moving forward. So what I'd like to do is request an executive session so that we could brief you on this matter.
For what purpose?
I would assume we'd have to do it before your next Board of Selectmen meeting,
Well,
because
but-
you'll need to post it.
For what reason?
Yeah, for what reason, though? Which particular reason are we talking about?
Is it number 9 on the contractual, it's
It's a contract?
It's an agreement, it's similar, and it involves money, promissory interests, so we feel that we shouldn't, we don't feel it's something that we should discuss in public, but I think it's number 9 on your, is that it on your list of reasons for executive session?
Number 9?
Mr. Titlebaum?
I don't know.
No, it's actually number 3.
Thank you.
I have seen the documents that you sent out. I agree that they are best dealt with in executive session. They deal with interests in lands, they deal with rights and responsibilities of parties in those interests in land, and it's not something you discuss openly until you have, in essence, I won't call it a negotiation necessarily. It may be that we review this in executive session and say this is fine, and then vote in open session to authorize CETA to go ahead and do this, but I don't want to bring these things out in public session until we have a time to review them.
If this is going to be a legal document, I'd much rather have town council review it and give us some information before we, even in executive session, discuss it. I'd put it on the agenda, even though it's for the sewer issues for next week, I'd put it on for that so we can take care of it, but before. I'm just not a big fan of going ahead and doing something rushed. You know, it just doesn't work for me.
Would half an hour, I'll ask council this question, would half an hour be enough, do you think, to go over this? I don't see the point in coming in, and I don't think this is necessarily an hour's worth of work, unless you think there is.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I've seen the document. It's, I mean, I can comment on it to a degree. It's a fairly standard subordination agreement. I guess if it affects some negotiating position that we're taking, then maybe that is an executive session matter. I'm not aware that that's the case, but if it is, certainly it's something you could talk about in executive session. Perhaps there are language changes that you want to see made that affect the negotiating position. I'd be happy to review those.
But if they're gonna sign it, doesn't that assume that they've already agreed with the terms?
Don't
So
you?
there's no negotiation taking place?
Well, and presumably that discussion took place in an open session.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess that gets back to, I think, a point that I'd made last week, which was I'd really need to know more about what the consequences, why an executive session.
Perhaps,
Mr. Titlebaum?
are you here on Thursday? No. Okay. Perhaps you could advise the chairman before the time for setting the agenda for next week elapses as to whether we would need an executive on this. Maybe you
We'll need
two
to
of
do
you
it.
could work it out.
We'll need it by, Thursday for Friday posting. That'd be fine.
I'd be happy to talk about it with you tomorrow.
Yeah, so either will be executive session on next week, or it'll be I'll put it in as a regular agenda item to get it done, even though it's sewer business.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I believe I wrote to you last week about it. I really need to know more about why you think this should be an executive session. And you don't have to tell me now, you can write back to me.
Okay.
For me to properly guide the board on it. With a subordination matter, either you agree to it with some changes, or you don't agree to it. So I guess I'd probably want to know more about, how any of those three options hurts our negotiating position.
My concern would be, Mr. Bowen, that under the special act, that was changed for CETA, whether or not this falls under our jurisdiction of having to approve something that they're doing, because that's that one piece of legislation that changed everything.
Yeah, I can answer that now, Mr. Chairman. As we all know, the special legislation, especially as it was revised in the second instance,
Yeah.
gives the Board of Selectmen policy oversight over CETA. And it is my view anyway that on a matter concerning Bay Point, that's what this concerns, it's a matter of policy because Bay Point is an important subject for the town. And so I think it's appropriate for the Board of Selectmen to give general policy guidance to CETA before anyone signs off on a subordination agreement. I suspect
agree with that.
you agree with me on that one. And so really the only question is why executive session?
I'd like to see the agreement.
We can forward each of
Would
you a
you?
copy
I
of
appreciate
the
it. That'd be
agreement.
great. Thank you. Okay.
Any other questions of the board on this matter?
No. You're next.
Okay, I guess I just have a couple of things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Salvador. We are doing some renovations out at the 195 Information Center, and we finally have a contractor coming in to do them, which they're repairing some leaks in the roof, replacing some fascia board, putting in a handicap ramp, and there is, I guess, they're going to paint the outside of the unit. I think those are the 5 things that we're doing. Could be one more. So that is progressing, and it's well needed. We've had that unit for, I would say, 10 years, almost 10 years, and it was very seasoned when we obtained it. Other than that, at our last meeting, we are happy to announce that there was a request for some assistance with the Discover Wareham brochure, and that was approved at our meeting last evening.
Okay.
My one comment would be that with the lack of visitor centers all over the state, sorry about, hit the wrong button. My concern would be that maybe we can reach out again looking for more grants, since, you know, there's really not much when it comes here as far as people stopping. And with the train and everything else here, I think we might be able to find some leverage to get some more financial help with it.
We did receive a $15,000 grant this year
I know.
from Mark.
I'm looking for more.
Absolutely.
Mr. Titlebaum.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess since I'm the selectman on the Beach and Tourism Advisory Committee, I just wanted to thank you and CETA for the rapid response to the committee's request for some funding assistance for the pamphlet to be handed out in Boston. Just so people understand, this is a pamphlet that's being prepared by the Beach and Tourism Advisory Committee. It's not using any budgeted town funds at all. We're soliciting money from local businesses in exchange for advertising in it. We've gotten assistance from the Plymouth County Tourism Council, Paul Cripps, who heads the Plymouth County Development Council. We've just gotten, as we heard tonight, assistance from CETA in doing this via grant funds. And this is so that a brochure can be prepared to be handed out both on the Cape Flyer, but also in the hotels and possibly the airport in Boston, so that people can, you know, when they go by the stands with all the brochures, they can pick it up and say, okay, yeah, Wareham, what's this all about? And perhaps generate some interest in coming down here instead of continuing on the Cape Flyer over the bridge. So we're trying to pluck them off the train before they get there.
Just another comment. In the Cape Cod Times, we've had some publicity over the past few months. Mr. Slave, Selectman Slave and Mr. Titlebaum were, did you see your article? They really gave you a full page. It was great. And then when the Oyster Festival was coming, they gave another full page spread to it. So we should keep up the good work with the Cape Cod Times. Maybe we'll bring some people this way.
Yeah, we're no longer a gateway. We're a destination.
Yeah, we want to be the place, not the funnel to the place.
Yeah. We are a destination.
And I was just going to add, while we're on the tourism topic, there was an email which I forwarded to all of you today, which was from newenglandboating.com. So if folks who are interested in going online and looking at newenglandboating.com, they did a wonderful article all about Onset and the beach as a follow-up to the story, the article that was in the magazine as well.
Go ahead, Mr. Holmes.
Cirrus. And I don't understand how all that works. The satellite radio in rental cars. It happened to me again 2 weeks ago. It doesn't say where it comes from, but if you turn on the rental car and you hit sources and you hit XML radio, the satellite one, if the car's not equipping it, it plays this demo thing. It says, oh, come to Onset Beach and all this kind of stuff in Wareham. And they talk about, you know, the festivals we have, the Cape Verdean Festival, the Blues Festival. And it's only like 45 seconds. It's a beautiful little thing. But I don't know who put it there. Is that part of this? I mean, that happened to me
I think
almost
that-
a year ago,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
think it's
happening.
the same one from the prior year.
Yeah, it just happened to me again, and it was like that play, live, love, right?
Yep, live, work,
And it
play.
says that at the end.
Yep.
In onset, talks about onset, though.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is that part of what you're
That
doing?
was part of the promotion that we did last year, was we
Yeah.
featured both Wareham and Onset. We looked at a number of different items, so I think it references the Water Whiz at one point, and it talks about the.
It's short, it's only about 45 seconds.
Yeah, and it talks
But
about
yeah,
the.
it's in
the-
national
the
rental
Main Street-
cars.
Yep.
If you get, it just happened to me a few weeks ago. You hit satellite radio, and I didn't have it in the car, but it played that thing about onset again.
That's great.
So
That's
I thought
great.
that was pretty cool. I
That's
was in Alabama.
There you go.
It's like I couldn't even find Massachusetts if I wanted to at that point.
Pretty soon we'll be worldwide.
Yeah.
I just have a few things that I just want to highlight for you about our most recent grant, the FY13 grant. We're about a little over halfway through that grant. We got about 45% of it left. We expect to expend the remainder of that probably by the beginning of October. We had our public services, which I know was a concern for everybody. I'm happy to report that we've served over 3,000 people through our public service efforts. And that's through the 5 public services that we funded, which is it's Turning Point for homelessness prevention. We had Damien's Pantry, just to name a few. So we're really pleased with the progress there. The Greater New Bedford Workforce Board, finally, I got my appointment letter, so I am now an official member of the Greater New Bedford Workforce Board, so I'll be representing Wareham, and I've also been asked to participate on the Business Development Committee of that board. So I'm very excited about that as well. And then I did want to mention one other thing. On June 19th, we had a South Shore bus tour, economic development bus tour. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's put on by the 2 chambers, the Cape Cod Canal Region Chamber and the Plymouth Chamber. And essentially what they do is they have a bus tour with developers and real estate folks who are looking to learn about the area. And it traveled from Marshfield all the way through Plymouth to Carver into Wareham. And I was fortunate enough to go in and narrate the section on Wareham, so I get to control the bus while it's in Wareham and take it around to all the highlights and point out all the exciting things that we're doing. So we get very good response from that. But it was just another way which we're trying to promote the town, and I wanted you to be aware of that.
Just a quick
Sure.
question. Are you kind of like one of those gray line bus drivers who makes stuff up?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just pointing out the highlights. There's plenty of stuff here to be highlight. We don't need to make things up.
Make it all up.
There you go. No, not making up. There's lots of good stuff happening here. We don't need to make stuff up. That's it.
All set?
All set?
Any question from the board?
Yes, one more. When are you moving?
Are you talking my office? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
We should be moving within the next 2 weeks. We just have to work things out with municipal maintenance to help us.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a month.
All right.
Thank you.
Discussion on policy 0207, which is the chapter 61A, section 14 notification. Now, I think we already talked about this, and didn't we add?
No, we had, someone wanted to hold because they had some question.
We changed the language, right, and added some committee or something to it?
Now, the notifications, the additional notifications would go to the town planner, CETA director.
Yeah, we added them to it, right? That's what we did.
Did we actually vote on this? That's the question.
We didn't vote on it because they were to
Right.
hold. So I'll take a motion.
Motion, we approve policy 0207, chapter 61A, section 14, notification, as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mr. Holmes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
All right, now, my favorite. 0208 is here again.
I think Mr. Titlebaum was working on that with forms as well for the permit forms.
Yeah, I hope everybody brought their copies from the 24th meeting with them. I did bring an extra one to go in the clerk's record if we do vote on this tonight, so
This mess. This
I'll
is
give everybody a chance to
property.
burrow through their stuff and look for it.
Got it here somewhere.
Don't you want from the 24th? I
Yes,
have
it
that
is.
one over here anyway. I don't even know what I'm doing. I got it right here.
You got one there?
I got it right here.
Yeah, you should have all of it there.
I remember writing revert somewhere.
Yeah, you want to read that, Mr. Holmes, for the record?
Mr.
Yeah,
Titlebaum,
this
right?
is,
You got
I was
your-
delegated to work on this
You
one
got the review?
with
Go,
council.
Mr. Titlebaum, have fun.
If everybody could call out or at least listen, instructions for special event permitting. After the sentence that reads, "The sponsoring individual organization is responsible for ensuring that vendors, amusement device operators, and other participants have obtained the necessary permits and required inspections." The added language would be vendors and amusement device operators must be identified in the application, and there shall be a fee of blank for each such party. I think the first thing we needed to do is to address Selectman Holmes's concern, which is what led us into this investigation, you might say, of what other communities do. How do you charge for vendors? How do you straighten out your application so you can account for all this? And decide what is the fee amount that we would charge for each such party. Yes, I know town council is looking at that as well. I know that at the first meeting, I think we bandied up about the dollar amount of $25 per vendor, something like that. So what is,
This would be a non-state vendor?
right, a state vendor can go anywhere, so we can't hold them to paying for an extra permit, but this would just be a hawker, peddler, working solely in the town of Wareham.
I have one question. I was at an event, and I noticed there was a vendor, whatever you want to call it, but actually located and set up on town property. How do you handle that one?
Yeah, I mean, why would he not be subject to our fee?
It would be, yeah, it is, because this goes hand in hand with the use policy, that there's no commercial activity that takes
So it
place
doesn't
without a
matter.
permit
So-
from us.
So it doesn't matter if he's state approved or not, he's still subject to our fees because he's on our property.
Well, who's going to enforce this?
Hello.
Everybody's looking at you.
Hi.
Everybody's looking at you.
Low man.
There's no one to look at.
Low
Yeah.
man
You're
again.
like Curly, you're at the end of the line.
Yeah, there's nobody sitting beside you, so.
So I assume that's our code enforcement officer?
Yes, just to back up, I know Chairman Slavin and I had a little back and forth on the vendor on town property. And if the vendor is on town property, they need your permission, period. If they were on this, if they had a state license and they were moving along on the street, then even though the street technically is your property, there's not much you can do about that. But if they're setting up on our land, then they better ask us first, regardless of whether you have a permit in place or not, because people can't just come along and start using town property without your permission, especially for a commercial venture.
Yeah, and at least the state has no right to give permission to use our property anyway.
No, and the permission that the state gives, it's for hawkers and peddlers.
Right.
Basically, the push carts.
Right.
And the permission that the state is giving is for the push cart operator to continue to push his or her cart along your street, but not stopping for too long in any one particular place. That doesn't give them permission to set up on the front lawn of town hall or in a park or anywhere else.
Okay.
The street, that's it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I gotta tell you this story. Having him just say that the other night at the fireworks down in Onset. You know where the pumping station is, where we just put up the new bird osprey.
Yep.
I'm walking up the street to go back to my house. You all know where I live. And there's the first house on the corner, and then the second house And the guy who was pushing the, he has all those things in his little cart. Well, he has like a Stop and Shop cart he had scoffed somewhere. And this thing is full. And he's trudging along. So I'm walking, and he tries to go up the driveway there. Well, the whole damn thing come over, knocked me to the ground. All the stuff fell on top of me. All the sticks and the glow sticks and everything are all over me. I'm bleeding like a sieve. I got about an inch cut there. So, my point is, I get up,
Are you looking
and
for counsel or something?
no, I get up, and I just get a Band-Aid from the fireman and go home. Right? Somebody else gets up and goes to the fireman, the onset fire department, and gets on a stretcher. Because it knocked me to the ground. And this guy's on town property. That happened on town property. So, how do you deal with Mr. Trapiano's question now?
He was obviously a trespasser.
Well, no, it's a serious question. I
No,
mean, the incident was funny. I didn't laugh then because, I mean, it hurt. I banged my head. I cut myself.
No,
He
no.
offered to give me free stuff. But I wasn't interested. But to
No,
Mr. Trapiano's question, even though he was in the street, which is town property, as you say,
Yeah,
and he's stopping and going, well, he was on his way home
yeah.
and knocked me over. Citizen walking up the street. So I turned around and sued the town,
Well, I
right?
think,
And then what happens? Town council.
as a practical matter, I'd probably be on the phone to our insurance company, but if a case like that went to court, the question is, what did we do wrong that would cause us to have liability? And
Could the answer be, if you don't mind a little back and forth, could the answer be that the Board of Selectmen just let him go without using this policy and making him come and get a permit from us?
no,
No?
that's section.
And by the way, I'm not suing anybody.
No,
I'm just, I don't want that to get out. But I'm just using that as a real-life example, because I agree with Patrick that, just because they have a state hawker and peddler thing, they're on our property. Whether they're moving or they're standing still with the grocery cart, what constitutes that? I know with a camper, if it's off of wheels, it's a stationary object. But as long as a camper has wheels on it, it's a movable box, right? And so all you need is to have a license plate on the back of it and have it duly registered.
Well, on the enforcement issue, Section 10 of the Mass Tort Claims Act provides the discretionary enforcement exemption, which means that we can't be liable for not enforcing every law or policy that's on the books. So it's like the story I think I told you one day about the state trooper who was pulling people over and had the guy on the side of the road, and the guy he caught said, geez, all those other cars were going by much faster. Why didn't you catch them? To which the state trooper said, well, did you ever go fishing? And the guy says, yeah. Did you catch every fish in the lake? And the answer is no. Well, you're not liable for not catching every fish in the lake. And that's the state of the law. But
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, the vendor you saw on town property, was it a stationary booth? Was it a table? Was it somebody with wheels on a cart? What was it?
It was basically someone who had pulled on to town property to sell things.
You mean, pull on, you mean like with a vehicle?
Yeah.
They drove a vehicle on town property?
Yeah.
Has wheels.
The reason I'm asking the question is because I think we're going to get into a messy situation. When we give a permit to any organization that runs an event, they in turn then sell vending space, which is that space. So my question is, is this policy going to make the vendors also comply with permit from the town, in addition to the organization? I'm trying not to go there, but I think we need to ask the question.
well, I know Selectman Titlebaum and I had looked at the actual form that would be used. And the idea of the form was to, number one, require I'll call them the master applicant, to identify all the vendors that were going to be there, to list them, and to require the payment of a fee, which I know we hadn't determined in the draft, for each identified vendor. Now, presumably, each identified vendor would be subject to your policy. I mean, however you decide that you want it to be established. And moreover, even unidentified vendors ought to be subject to it. The fact that they're flouting it doesn't mean that they're exempt from it.
I guess,
So, is this, yeah, is it based the way, that town with the great big huge Brimfield? Is this based on the Brimfield format?
Mr. Chairman, the Brimfield format was very complicated, but in principle, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Master, applicant, identification of, well, I'll call them sub-applicants, if you will.
Thank you.
I think what I'm hearing is, the easiest way to do this is to say, if we're going to do it, let me clarify that, is to say, okay, I come to town, I apply for a permit to use Onset, right? And during my event, I'm going to have, let's keep it simple, I'm going to have 50 vendors in the park, selling goods, T-shirts, whatever. So I know who they are, I know how many they are, because I've collected money from them. And all I'm saying to them now is, instead of paying me 25, you're going to pay me 50, right? No, I wanted to make this simple. Instead of 25, you're going to give me 35. $10 goes to the town. 10 50s, they write us a check for $500, and we're done.
yeah, or whatever the amount is.
As Mr. Titlebaum said, is for, in terms of enforcement, if we go to that festival, and they come in here and they pay us for 10 vendors, we show up, there's 200. Next year, when they come for the master permit, the answer just might be no.
No, you go around with your telephone and you take pictures.
Well, what I'm saying is, though, in terms of the punishment, Mr. Titlebaum had suggested that, you know, every year they have to, if you want to keep coming back and have an event, you have to sit before this board and Mr. Sullivan and the honored town council there, and you're going to lie again after you got caught the first time? Because you know, if you're charging per table, you know exactly the vendor's name, their address, their phone number, emails, all that stuff, and you're already charging them. You're just putting on a town, additional town, they have to make a contribution to the town for those tables. I don't see a problem with that.
Mr. Titlebaum?
They're using our land. If they weren't using our land, they couldn't have the event.
Well, the best part of this is, when it comes to enforcement, you're going to have the event organizer looking out to see who's vending at their event. You're not going to have to worry about code enforcement officer come bopping down the street. You're going to get the event organizer saying, hey, who are you? What are you doing here? There's a town policy. We had to pay to get these other people here, so you gotta take a hike. Because not only are they going to be upset that somebody's snuck in for free, but then they're also going to listen to the chorus of all the other vendors who had to pay extra to do this. So it's a self-enforcement mechanism as well.
So can I just ask a clarifying question of
Go
you?
ahead, Mrs. Whiteside.
Please. So the way that it looks, the XYZ festival is going to have to pay $50. Plus, you said $10. Well, yeah, $10 for each of their subcontractors. And each subcontractor would have to have one of these pages on file with the master application?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. This is for identification purposes, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you've meant this to be conversation.
No, this is conversation.
Okay. Because Mrs. White said, I think that's exactly right, because the event organizer is already doing that so that they can collect their $25, right?
Yeah.
So we're charging them $50 to use the land, and, you know, if they, typically you sign up as a vendor, they get all your information. Instead of collecting $25, they're gonna collect, let's say, $35. If there's 50 of them, the $10 a piece, they write a check to us in the application, $500. And, you know, and I would not be opposed, because some of these vendors do come from a distance, and they may pay when they get here, that within 24 hours or 48 hours of the event, that they cover that check if they don't have it before, right? So if you got a vendor coming down from New York and they pay the event guy when they get here, we can take our check on Monday or Tuesday or whatever the date is. That's fine. I have a problem with that. But we should collect something. So I think you're absolutely right.
Mrs. Whiteside?
I like this, and I'd like to move it forward with a motion, with the $10 for each sub-vendor, with the $50 regular. I'm on page 2, I think.
Go ahead, Mr.
Mr.
Holmes.
Chairman, if I just might add one more comment. This in no way hurts the organizer of the event, because they don't have to lower their fee. All they have to do is say, hey, if you want to come and be a vendor at our event, you got to pay us our $25. And oh, by the way, it's a new policy in the town of Wareham. We have to pay them, so you have to pony up that money. So it's not like the event organizers, and listen, if it's whatever the number ends up being, it's not too extraordinary that no vendor can afford it, right? We all know that. So we're not hurting anybody by doing this.
No. No, you don't like my motion?
No, no, no. I was agreeing with
Oh, okay.
him that we're not, this doesn't harm anybody.
Before we make a motion, Mr. Bowen, are we on legal ground?
I hope so, we wrote it.
It's our land.
Want to make sure.
I hope so.
You know me. I always ask.
Yep, well, it's our land.
That's all I need to know.
They don't want to use it, they don't have to pay it.
I want to point out one thing. Mr. Sullivan, I love this. You're using the back side of the paper?
Yeah, look.
Saving money.
We're, I mean, this is saving money right here. We're using, I've got water pollution control stuff on the back of my papers. So, you know, hey, you're thinking outside the box.
Now may I make my motion?
Mrs. Whiteside, please go ahead.
Thank you.
One other question. When we make the motion, when is this, the effective date going to be?
Immediately.
We already have organizers that have already got their permits approved.
All new applicants.
Immediately.
Subject to new
Applicants.
permits,
Yeah.
new applicants.
All right.
Everything from the time of your vote going forward.
Right.
Yep.
Please include that in the motion.
Yes, sir. I move that we adopt the instructions for special event permitting and the following pages as submitted by Mr. Titlebaum, and I would put in the fee section a fee of $50 for the parent applicant and $10 for each vendor or amusement operator who is coming in under that parent permission. And this would be effective tomorrow morning, which would be yes, so it would become effective immediately, so that anybody who comes in for a new permit, whether they've been doing business with us for 100 years or not, these are the new rules.
I'll second for discussion on the amount.
Mr. Titlebaum?
I think Selectmen and Holmes and I were both looking to be a little more greedy about this.
What
Perhaps,
a surprise.
perhaps 25?
It's libertarian.
It's a fee. What a surprise.
I don't have a problem with amending my motion to 50 for the parent and 25 for the vendor.
Need a second? For discussion? Any heard? None heard? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Titlebaum, also for getting this done, finally.
Thanks.
Well, that doesn't take care of the policy.
Nope, that's next.
That's
Right.
next.
The only comment that I wanted to make is that now that we are being so diligent about collecting all these fees, that we want to make extra sure that each applicant provides us with appropriate insurance that also covers the individual vendors.
Need one?
So,
Yeah, well, I think, is that on the form?
Yeah.
I think it is, right?
I think you might have an issue with some of the small vendors, some places that probably are not going to have insurance.
Thanks.
Indemnify, hold harmless, in defense of the town, its agents.
Yeah, they sign that form, but some of them will not have insurance.
Mr. Chairman, my thought being that if, you know, if you had a small crafter who was coming in, you know, say doing knitting wear or that type of thing, you know, they're not going to have a big insurance policy. It might be appropriate for the actual overall permit applicant to come up with insurance that covers not only themselves, but any of the vendors who participate in the event.
I believe that was done with the 2014 committee.
That's certainly, I mean, in terms of policy, Mr. Chairman, that's certainly something we can address with subsequent policy, but it's also something that I think as a matter of right, as selectmen, we can demand of organizers, regardless of whether there's a firm policy in place.
Well, I just fixed it. How about in that third paragraph, just before the red letters, you add the word, so the sentence will read, the sponsoring individual/organization is responsible for ensuring that vendors, amusement device operators, and other participants have obtained the necessary permits and required inspections and insurances.
Yeah, that works.
That works. Right?
So now we have an amendment to include and insurances,
Yes, sir.
and an amended second from Selectman Holmes on the insurance issue for the vendors.
Any questions? All those,
Oh, but you also,
go ahead.
you have an amendment for the 25.
Well, hold on.
That's already in there.
You
Oh, you-
already voted this, so
Oh,
you have
Yeah,
to
we-
back out. the
Yeah, you
vote.
already amended that
Okay.
before.
All right.
You can't, let's,
No, why don't we just cancel the vote out?
yeah,
Okay, start it again.
let's unvote it.
Would you like me to restate my motion?
Let's withdraw it.
I withdraw my motion. I would
Well,
like
we
to
already
restate.
voted it, so we've got a vote that we already took, so we have to rescind the vote.
I'll take a motion to
I
to
move-
repeal our motion, our vote.
I
Motion to
move
rescind.
We rescind the vote
Fine.
on the special permitting process.
All
Second.
right.
Second. Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Now,
you can go.
okay.
New motion, Mrs. Whiteside.
I would like to
okay.
recommend that we adopt the instructions for special event permitting as proposed and prepared by Mr. Tropiano and Town Council. On page 1, there will be an addition after the word inspections to include and insurances. The vendors, I'm in the red letters now, will have a fee for $25 for each of the sub-vendors. The applicant will pay a fee of $50.
Okay.
The permitting process will be effective immediately.
There you go.
For new permits. Any
For
questions?
new permits.
Thank you. Second?
You got it.
He did. Steve?
Okay,
second.
motion by Mrs. Whiteside, second by Mr. Holmes. Any questions?
Nope.
None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
All right.
Thanks.
Now we actually have the
Thank
actual
you.
Now
policy.
can we go to 0208 so we can get rid of this thing?
Yeah, really.
It's only been 4 months.
Okay, on this one,
Sorry.
We have black and white copies. Unfortunately, what I had done was kind of redlined and bolded and this, that, and the other thing, so I'm probably going to have to read this thing out loud for it to make any sense.
Yep.
Based upon what I received, and I assume you all have.
Yep.
Use of town property. It is the policy of the Board of Selectmen that no commercial activity shall be permitted to take place on any town-owned control policy, including but not limited to beaches, parks, forests, public ways, parking lots, conservation recreation areas, fields and grounds, playgrounds and cemeteries, and/or beaches, without a permit from the Board of Selectmen. I changed it from the Office of the Selectmen because the permit is actually voted on by us. I don't want people thinking they could just go in and harangue the office staff into giving them a permit without appearing before the board. The second sentence reads, commercial activity includes offering food, beverage, or other goods and services for sale. I took out retail sale. I don't think we need to qualify the word sale. I think we want it to be inclusive rather than exclusive. Permit conditions shall include insurance at a level specified by the town. That gives us discretion over whether we think people are adequately insured for what they're doing, which names the town as additional insured. That's standard. All town property used for parking shall remain under town control, and all revenue for parking reverts to the town rather than goes. I think it's just a better way of phrasing it. It is also the policy of the Board of Selectmen that town property shall not be utilized for exclusive private events without a permit from the Board of Selectmen. I did away with purposes. I don't have a public purpose when I go to a town beach. I have a private purpose to enjoy it. But if somebody's taking is looking to use town property exclusively for an event, some kind of exposition, a marriage, a recommitment ceremony, that sort of thing, then they need to pay for it. And once again, the permit comes from the Board of Selectmen, not the Office of Selectmen. This policy extends to the use of town buildings, parks, playing fields, bandstand, and gazebo. And then, once again, this policy shall take effect immediately. That's the draft that I've worked out.
Any questions from the board?
I like it. Think it's does exactly what we asked you to do, which was clarify, and it kisses it. Keep it simple, sweetie.
Any other comments? Take a motion.
I move that we adopt the revised policy number 02-8 as read into the record by Mr.
Second.
Titlebaum.
Motion by Mrs. Whiteside, second by Mr. Holmes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Thanks.
All right, next, set the date for a joint meeting with the board, with the school committee and finance committee.
This basically, I'd like to set something around the 23rd of July, or about a week's time in that time frame. The reason for this will be the first meeting to sit down and discuss anything that we have loose on the 2015 budget, dollar-wise, and also to start looking at 2016, looking at where our potential cuts are going to have to be to start working on this, because it's going to take a while, even though the 2016 budget doesn't come until next spring. We need to be proactive and have things in place well before the budget cycle. So I'd like to get some consensus from the board, whether I'd like to try for the 23rd or a week, or the following week.
I won't be here the following week.
We're not going to be, are you talking about June?
No, I'm talking about July.
July? I mean,
June?
July 29th
The
is,
23rd I can do, the following
Not
week I
gonna do
will not be
the
here.
Would you like me to try?
initial meeting, right?
It's got first meeting of the board. Would you like me to try for the 23rd, 24th, and that?
yes, please.
If you don't mind,
Please.
can I check my calendar here?
Is that your social calendar?
Okay.
Could be. Could be a work calendar, too.
All right, so you'll set that up, right?
Yes, I'll see what I can do on that.
Discussion and possible vote on new hire policy. There's really nothing here. This is just...
This was just based off of what we discussed a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think we
The-
need
the
more
question-
time with this, though.
Well, the question is, do we want to go ahead and,
Yeah, I think we do. I think we want to do something. I just don't, I think it's a little premature. We just got this in our hands. We need to spend some time with this, if this is the policy, and I might want to make some adaptations.
when would you like to reschedule it?
Give me 2 weeks.
We'll make it the 5th of August, because we're not meeting on the 29th.
All right, that's fine.
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Discussion of the Everett School.
The reason I put this on there is that the Everett School basically has been given back and town meeting has voted. So I'm asking the board to make a decision what we would like to do with the school. Do we want to sell the property? What do we want to do with it?
So let's sell it.
Sell it.
Yeah, I had asked you to put this on here, I believe, at town meeting. And this was put into the hands of the Board of Selectmen. So I had hoped to get this on a quick agenda because obviously Mr. Sullivan is spending money on this building somewhere in his budget. And town meeting actually gave us the approval to sell this building. We don't have to go back to town meeting. So we can sell this as quickly as possible because they gave us that right they didn't just give us custodialship of the building, they actually gave us the right to sell it. So we don't have to go back to town meeting as we typically do.
We need to get, what, 3 appraisals on this? We have to have at least, we gotta have something to have a value, and we need to know what its best use is.
Mr. Chairman, the disposition of the property would be subject to Chapter 30B, Section 16, the Uniform Procurement Act. What the Uniform Procurement Act says is that you get a valuation of the property. I believe the exact phrase is in the manner customary to valuing properties. In some communities, especially for properties that have no great value, that could be as little as an assessor's value, property record card. For more sophisticated properties, I wouldn't recommend that. It might involve going out and getting a simple appraisal. The law doesn't specify the number. If you got one appraisal and you were satisfied with that, that would be enough. Having got the appraisal, if the value of the property is $25,000 or more, you would have to seek proposals to dispose of the property. The property could be a simple question of bid, highest bidder gets the property, or if you had a particular vision for the type of user that you wanted to see at the property, you could do an RFP and set the possible uses that you'd want to see, and then in combination with seeing the most desirable use and the best amount of money, make an award on that basis rather than simply on the highest number. So you can go either way on that.
Mr. Titlebaum.
Not quite sure how to handle that impressive first day of class in Procurement 101. But before we even go there, I think it's incumbent upon us to ask Mr. Sullivan if there's anything he'd want the building for, anything he could foresee using the building for, if the building has any value to the town administration before we go ahead and do this.
Thank you. The first thing everyone needs to know is that money, if sold, will not flow to the general fund.
That's right.
That will be encumbered into account for the sale of real estate. You can only use that for like items. So you can only use it if you're going to purchase real estate or do anything like that. So it's not just a little instant upgrade, you know. So as far as use of the property, we've talked about it before. I think we've abated for any of the sewer uses on it right now. It's an abandoned building. It is a liability, and we have to do one of two things: get it off the rolls, or have some sort of use of the property. If we saw what Yarmouth just did. Yarmouth, interestingly enough, took a school, turned it over to Bridgewater State, and they now have a massive campus down there. Yep. They leased it out for $1, and the amount of income that's coming into the town from the students and such is far better than anything. So is there another use for that? You know, we have a lot of nonprofits that maybe would like to come to the area and that could benefit some of our residents. We know that we can't do that, and the less we can supply back to our residents, the more likely we need to rely on these nonprofits. So if we were to probably lease that building out, it wouldn't really be a revenue generator. It would at best be neutral, but it could bring something back into the town.
Mr. Titlebaum.
Are you able to identify what it costs to keep the building mothballed at the present time? Per year or per month, or however you figure it?
The main issue is the insurance on it. Believe it or not, that's our number one expense. As soon as a building is considered vacant, the insurance skyrockets on it.
Get it out of here.
So,
The building needs a lot of work.
I believe the roof is also
There is-
Well,
inadequate.
let's not point that stuff
Oh.
out in public. Mr.
It's a wonderful building, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a
now?
great
Yes.
building, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Whiteside.
Oh.
Mrs. Whiteside, are you finished?
I thought she had finished.
I'm finished.
She's finished.
Mr. Holmes?
She was just pointing out that the roof is in wonderful shape. You know, and this is part of my approach here. You know, I've sat here now for over 4 years, and there have been many opportunities for us to get some land where we've had the right of first refusal. Nice pieces of property that we could do something with. And the answer is, we all have to sit here and vote no, because the town has no money. So if we can take some of these properties, that just came up not too long ago, Patrick, on that corner, remember? And we didn't have any money to do anything with it. And so if we can get rid of some of these things and sell them to some wonderful buyers, then we could have a little pot of money, and the next time one comes up, after we have a few dollars in there, we can use that money for those pieces. And some of those properties have gone, and people who now have them are making a ton of dough on them. So we have to start looking that way. Instead of you spending money on these buildings, turn around and make them work for us, right? So you have plenty of buildings, so if you had an opportunity, you can put the people somewhere else, right? Thank you. That's all.
Mrs. Whiteside?
I'd have another question. It is the original high school building, so does the Historic District Commission, whatever that body is, should they be asked what their recommendations would be? That's what I'm saying.
They have no money.
We'd have to check to see if that building's actually in the historic district or not. The church is, Center Park is, I'm not sure whether that building is or is not.
I think it is.
If it is, it changes some of the dynamics. I know we checked into the building to make sure that we could sell it, and there's no restrictions in the deed. Would the board like to give Mr. Sullivan 30 days to come up with some alternatives, and at that point, they will make a decision how to go?
Yes.
Sure, let's shuffle it over to his corner. Serve.
It's time for designee in reverse. A consensus of the board to give Mr. Sullivan 30 days and bring this back in 30 days?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Everett School, Hammond School update. I got nothing in my folder.
No,
Oh, wait a
train
minute.
station.
Restriction for the train station, hold on. You know what, I don't know if I have anything for that either.
No, all this is
I
here
got
is,
nothing.
we've been told by Mass DOT, Mr. Reed, that basically if we would like, we can petition, right, sorry, I always get it wrong, that we can petition to Mass DOT Rail to take over the railroad station, to eliminate the clause there that says they can revert it back to them for rail use anytime they feel like it, 1,500 square foot of the building. So they basically said that they don't have any plans for it and be happy to give us, remove that reverter clause out of our purchase. And so, they're not paying any taxes to us or anything on the building right now. This is Whiteside.
Does you're talking about this,
Merchants Way Station, train
the
station.
old train station?
The old train station.
Okay. And whose property does it sit on?
It sits on town property.
Okay.
Just I can probably clear up the legal status for the board. All of, well, not all, but a significant chunk of Merchants Way was given to the town
1954.
several decades ago.
54.
They gave it up. There was no more, or not much use for the state or the railroad when it came to that area. They also gave us possession of the train station that's there, but what they kept was a 1,500-foot reverter interest, where if they ever wanted to open up that station for railroad purposes, and only railroad purposes, then they could lay claim to 1,500 square feet of the building, which is substantially most of the inside of it. They've never done so. When they were down looking for a place to put the Cape Flyer platform, that came up in discussion, I want to say back in maybe January, February. And the deputy administrator for the state rail said that they didn't have any use for it. They'd be happy to sign off on that and give us control of the building. We already have the liability of the building because they have no responsibility to maintain it. They have no responsibility to put a nickel into it, and nor have they maintained it or put a nickel into it. So I don't see this as taking on any additional responsibility for the building. We already have it. It would just give us complete control over the building, which is something we don't have right now.
That was one of the reasons why we couldn't convert it into a welcome center or whatever else, because the way the deed was written to us, we had to maintain it for transportation use and couldn't lock it in. Yeah, this will help me get another bathroom.
It might also help us get it off the rolls if that's what we decide to do, because nobody's going to buy something if the railroad's got a 1,500 reverter interesting and throw them out at any time, so.
Yep.
Okay, I got it. So what is the vote? What is the motion?
The motion would be to authorize the chairman to send a letter to the deputy administrator of Mass Rail to request that they release the reverter and record that in the registry of deeds.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 400. We'll take care of that.
Okay, Hammond School update.
We have been working on the possibility of the Council on Aging. I'll let Mr. Sullivan talk about it. There's been so many pieces moving around because of our financial situation that we've been going back and forth where we're going, what we're doing. We actually have a full scale-out drawing of the Hammond School for a Council on Aging. At this particular point, Mrs. Whiteside and I have to go back and just look at numbers and stuff again, because we have certain monies aside if people decided to go with the other budget rather than the balanced budget that we passed. So we'll continue working on this, but at this particular point in time, we have to go back and do a little more work.
Okay. Discussion with the harbor master, I don't see him here, so.
That's been postponed to the 22nd.
All right.
He called
Vote
in.
on MovePac Mayflower Group.
Mr. Sullivan?
MovePac.
That is a vote with the PEC, the Public Employees Committee. That's what's made up of representatives from all the unions. They voted, and it's a weighted vote, so by the membership. So let's say the teachers union could represent 45%. The teachers union would represent 45% of all the unions, let's say. They voted to accept the entrance into the Mayflower group, and we'd be able to do it basically October 1st would be the day. And I'm asking the Board of Selectmen to accept this as well. What it says in there is that we will move into the Mayflower group. As part of that, if you remember, we already had an agreement with them. The move to the Mayflower group also changes some of the co-pays, where they'll pay slightly higher co-pays and such, so they had to agree to that as well. And also extends out what was a 6-year agreement through 2019 for the splits. There'll be an extra year in there through 2020, which will have the splits at 67.5, 32.5, which is very fair.
So moved.
Just have a question, my own information. This will get us out of the situation that we have. We've had to put money away from the town side and the employee side. We've been out of balance and stuff.
Right, we will no longer need to have a trust fund. What I would say is at the end of this fiscal year, FY15, if the move to the Mayflower group, we do anticipate some savings. We're going to, what we've budgeted in that line, I would ask on Springtown meeting, spring special, we vote those funds into the health trust fund. We will need to keep the funds in the health trust fund for, it would be up to 2 years. They say usually within 1 year, the run out for the IBNR. is all set. But you need to keep the, keep in there for as long as it really takes. We know that the splits are still off. It should be 67.5, 32.5, and it's really that the town has 32.5% and the employees 67.5. What happens at the end of it, the run out, whatever balance is in there, if the employees' whole portion is covered, the town would not need to put in extra money. But if there's not enough money to cover the employees' portion, the town would need to put money in.
So basically, somewhere around the third year, we should start to see some substantial savings. I'm not asking for numbers, just a basic thought.
Yeah, I would say our projections will be reduced over the next 3 years, and the fourth year after that would be very positive for the town.
So we're basically tackling an issue that's been really killing us, is the best way to put it.
Correct, and going through with this, with our rates will be reduced lower than our projections over the next 3 years, and that's also allowing us to buy in, so.
I believe when I looked at the Mayflower Group, that their increase rates have been extremely low, per year compared to everybody else around.
Last 3 years have been zeros.
Yeah, which is unheard of. Okay,
I'll
thank you.
second the motion, because I don't think it was. But I also want to point out that this is something that has major financial repercussions for the town, positive ones. It has taken you more than a year to get that done. That is not a criticism, that is an applaudit, actually, that you have been working on something for a long time. Government moves slowly, it involves unions, it involves negotiations, it involves all sorts of things. So I applaud your efforts on behalf of the town and on behalf of the employees of the town. And you continue to move the town in the right direction.
Just a very quick comment. I'd like to thank the employees for working with us on this. We could basically do this kind of on our own because of the way the state's put the GIC programs together, but they've worked hand in hand to make this work. And I want to make sure everybody understands that this is a joint effort to save the town money.
Without the employees, obviously, this wouldn't have worked, so we appreciate it.
We have a motion and a second. Any
Yes.
other questions from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you.
Next up is the grease,
Thank you.
the vote on the grease ordinance. I did sit and...
Mike's on.
Okay, I did talk to a guy, we went through this. I'm prepared to move the grease ordinance forward, and I make a motion that you guys all have a copy of it in your packet. I move that we approve the grease ordinance as written in the packet.
Second.
Any questions from the board? Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mr. Holmes. All in favor?
Aye.
Nice job, okay.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank
Any
you.
other town business not reasonably anticipated last 48 hours? Mr. Titlebaum.
Nothing.
Ms. Whiteside.
No.
Nothing for me. Mr. Holmes?
Thank you.
Slavin.
Not this time.
All right, okay, we're moving on. Next page, please. The town administrator's report, please. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I might try and use this microphone instead.
There's so much to say.
Well, you stole my mic before, but if you could pass this could be taken as under
Probably should have been in the 48 hours.
48 hours,
actually.
yeah, realistically. The only reason why is we have till the 15th day of the July to do the end of the year municipal relief transfers. And our next meeting is on the 15th of July. We just want to make sure, in case anything happened, that we cover this. If we want to vote on it and then take on the 15th a vote to confirm it, I'm fine with that. But as you know, at the end of the year, the municipal relief allows us to transfer a maximum of 3% or 5,000, whichever is greater. So what happens is even after town meeting, sometimes there's some adjustments that you need to make, and this is where the Municipal Relief Act comes in. The first one, believe it or not, is for $1, and it's for county assessments. And usually the assessments are just that. They're almost an offset, and you're allowed to just do it through setting the tax rate. However, they actually bill us on this.
And you're paying for this?
Yeah, and I'm taking out the town administration salary line of $1. So that would be A. If you see how the transfers are labeled, so that'd be from administration $1 to county assessments. B is you'll see a culmination of a total of 5 transfers into municipal maintenance electricity account. And it's from municipal maintenance salaries, $25,000. The reason why we have a surplus in that account is we held off on hiring one of the positions at the beginning of the year when Mr. Gifford retired. The then head mechanic foreman became interim and later the director, and we did not fill that position to save money. Unemployment, $5,000. Workers' compensation, $5,000. Council on Aging salary, $5,000. And legal, $5,000.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen.
Mr. Bowen, thank you, Mr. Bowen. Okay.
We'll let him take credit, but so that's B to the municipal maintenance electricity account.
Before you continue, can I just ask how we ended up being $45,000 short on the electric account?
Yes, the streetlights account that's funded about $110,000 is now costing us close to $155,000, and we had an NSTAR grant, and unfortunately, the NSTAR grant for that only lists street upgrades and did not say lights in there, so we were unable to use that account, even though that's what we were counting on.
Really?
Yep.
It's as simple as that, because it doesn't say
Well,
lighting
we
in
can fix
there.
it.
We
We'll
can't
fix it.
legally.
We fix it
Yeah.
right down the road.
We'll take care of that. We'll most likely in the
This
fall
is the
town
fall,
meeting,
October, yeah.
we're going to have to make an adjustment to electricity account, except for some of the upgrades that we're making through.
Okay,
We might be able to offset it.
thank you.
The police expenses, $11,000, to police salaries, $11,000. This is actually a buffer on there. We knew that there was one, when we had town meeting, we believed we were going to have one employee, one of the police officers back on the roster. That didn't happen, so we were still paying overtime to cover the shifts. I don't believe we will need all of this by far, but this was what we'd put together for the transfers, and the finance committee had to vote on this first. So we're taking it from police expenses, moving to the police salary lines, so it's within their budget.
Mhm.
Inspectional salaries, $250 to the selectmen salaries. No, you don't receive salaries, I'm sorry, but that's for the office staff.
They tried to do that. They tried to give them to us, you know.
We used to have them.
They tried to give us a stipend at a town meeting, and we were, all the selectmen were against it.
Yeah.
We used to have them.
Yeah, they did it
The
remember
return
that?
on investment on the hourly rate would be pretty good.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Did it again.
Inspectional salaries of $2,000 to general service, $2,000. That's the postage of the postage machine was higher than what we'd budgeted for. And planning salaries to the library salaries, the amount of $5,265. That was the buyouts for the layoffs. However, we won't need all of these funds, but we've already had it voted on by the finance committee, and they wouldn't have another meeting really in time for this.
Move we
So when-
approve the budget
Second.
transfers.
Any questions of the board? None heard, all in favor? Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, there's two quick things. One of them is until the governor signs into law, obviously we won't know what our cherry sheet aid is, but the final calculations of what's been submitted to them for FY 2015 is $486,806 less when you take into the assessments. So last year, FY 14, our state aid and assessments, what was netted out versus what we're going to net out for FY 15 is $486,806 less.
Less money.
Less.
Gotta love it. And then they passed that new thing along to us about wastewater management with the, and said, okay, you spend that extra $45,000 a couple times a year.
So.
It was nice of them.
On a positive note, I want to thank the WPCF director, Mr. Guy Campina, and for the life of me, I apologize. He had an employee, and they're working alongside with him, so hopefully he'll speak about it next week. But on July 4th, there was a lightning strike on the North Boulevard pump station, and there was a power surge at the plant itself. Mr. Campina and the employee were there working, another one, trying to get this all up and running. The employee, and that's why I'm so upset I forgot his name, and I apologize, he actually rebuilt it on the fly to get that pump station up and working, so we didn't need
Kill
to.
the generators.
Yeah. It's amazing work. I appreciate the efforts that go into that. An update on the parking kiosks through July 7th. The revenue generated is $40,300.75. So for June, it was $30,488.25, and July so far through the 7th, $9,812.50. Last year, from July 18th through the end of September, we generated $57,566.50. So we believe we'd set a goal of $90,000. We're looking to pretty solid that we will go far beyond that. So.
Great. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Holmes.
Yeah, I just want to say that nice work. And since I'm the one who started it, I just want to let people know that we're not finished. We have a long, long way to go. We started in Onset. I live there. And so we started in my home turf with this parking thing, kiosk. So not only that, but we probably attract more visitors than most of the town. So this money that Mr. Sullivan is talking about, we've been using to purchase more kiosks and advance the program. We're actually doing something that most real businesses do. We're actually using our revenue to buy the equipment to get more revenue. So this is it's unheard of in cities and towns. So I'm looking forward to next year when we come to town meeting. We're going to buy a bunch more kiosks, and we're going to work our way from one end of the town line to the other, and we're going to maximize on this revenue. The other thing I want to talk about parking, because the issue come up, you know, over the $30 thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we're on the subject of parking, I did like an idea, and I think I saw a comment from you in the paper about residents being able to buy, like their kids, a pass for visiting, and they could do it up front at the beginning of the year for the season. So if they do come in an emergency or overnight, they can just go out and put it on their car. So I do like that. But most of the feedback that I've gotten over the $30 is for the residents in those areas with the new signs that people said weren't up. Oh, they're up, because I saw them. Their attitude is, the $30, it's worth paying $30 to be able to park. Because before that, they just went out, if they had to go out, or they never left the house on a weekend, come back, that was it, they were gone. So at least now they pay $30, they have the same parking they do in the winter. So year round for $30. And so the feedback, there's always a few that are disgruntled, but the majority of the people are saying, thank you, because that is revenue to the town, revenue that we need, and it's revenue that we weren't capturing. So you're always going to get a few people that are going to complain, and I think it's not all that complicated at all. It's just a matter of being able to get the stickers and the permits. I think most people now know that the Onset Pier is open. Mr. Buckminster's office is open, so they can go do their parking thing there. Right, on the weekends. Because a lot of people were under the impression they had to come here Monday to Friday after 4:30. They couldn't get a pass and blah, you know. But, and actually when we had the workshop, remember I had that couple downstairs?
Yep.
I sent them over to Mr. Buckminster on Saturday,
Yep.
so they could get their thing. So You can get the pass to 7 days a week, and I know Mr. Sullivan is working on making that process a little easier. But I just want to say that thank you, because you've taken a lot of arrows, as I have, over the last 2.5 years to make this happen. And it's just the start of the program. We're not picking on Onset. We're not picking on parts of the town. We're going to experience this throughout the town so that we can maximize revenue, and that's what it's all about. So thank you and your team for doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
You all set?
Yep. All right. Liaison reports, Mr. Titlebaum.
No liaising was done.
Mrs. Whiteside.
A lot of liaising was done. And the reason it was done was because, again, Mr. Slavin and I have been talking for over a year about condensing boards and commissions. So I asked town council to please give me guidelines and ways of coping or improving what boards and commissions do. And the reason I have done that is because this is the list, according to our website, of our boards and commissions. Now, I know our website is not entirely accurate. However, it is my opinion that many of these boards and commissions don't exist because there are no members. And it's also my opinion that many of them are not complying with the regulations of the Charter or of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts laws. The other thing that I looked at briefly was the list of vacancies on the boards and commissions. So yeah, this is bigger type, but I can guarantee you that there's several boards and commissions here that just don't have any members at all. And I happen to be the liaison to at least 2 of them. So I would like, through my report time, my liaison report time, to have Mr. Bowen share some of the guidelines that he gave to me so that I can proceed to work towards getting our boards and commissions to be fully functioning, benefiting the town, and that we continue to use our volunteers wisely. Yep.
Go ahead, Mr. Bowen.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll give it to you in summary fashion. The first question is, what is it that boards are supposed to be doing? And the answer is they're supposed to be meeting regularly. Section 7-5A of the Charter says, quote, all multiple member bodies of the town, whether elected, appointed, or otherwise constituted, shall meet regularly. Well, what does regularly mean? Well, the bylaws at Division 1, Article 2, Section 1 provide the selectmen shall hold regular meetings at least twice per month, so you're good, and all other boards shall meet at least once a month. So once a month is the minimum by bylaw for all multiple member bodies of the town. In terms of holding a meeting, boards are expected to comply with the open meeting law. They're supposed to be open to the public, and meetings are supposed to be posted. That's all in Chapter 38, Section 20. And there is also a requirement under the bylaws, Division 1, Article 2, Section 1, which further explain posting requirements. Boards that meet are supposed to keep minutes. That's a requirement of Chapter 38, Section 22, which provides minutes of all open sessions shall be created and approved in a timely manner. The minutes of an open session, if they exist, and whether approved or in draft form, shall be made available upon request by any person within 10 days. The statute doesn't define what timely means in terms of approving minutes, but the Attorney General has offered rulings to the effect, in fact, I can cite one opinion, Open Meeting Law 2013-98, that timely means that minutes should be approved at least at the same types of intervals that the board actually meets. So for the ordinary board in town that's required to meet by charter and bylaw at least once a month, minutes should be put on the agenda each month and approved at that time so that they're available to the public. Thank you.
Mrs. Whiteside?
Thank you. I think that has been very informative. I appreciate the work that you went into that, and I would ask that you forward a copy of that to all of the selectmen as well as Mr. Sullivan.
Okay. All set?
Yeah, I'm going to say one other thing.
It's okay.
I'm the liaison to the library. I'm a person who goes to the library once a week before I come to this meeting, and I take a section of books by the author or authors that I like, and I put them into a brown bag, and I check out 10 books a week, and then they go back. It's disturbing to me that there are 3 boards, commissions, groups that have been supportive of the library over the years. They include the trustees, the foundation, and the Friends of the Library. I'm not sure I know why all of those 3 groups exist, but in a town where there are 3 bodies of people that are supposedly supporting an institution, I guess I'm kind of disturbed that that they have not been able to work well together, I guess that's my question. Have you been able to work well together? What can the 3 bodies do to hopefully keep the library at least as functioning as it is now? Mr. Teitelbaum and I did a fair amount of homework on the library methods on the Cape. Most of the libraries on the Cape are 501c3 or private charitable institutions. Our library is owned by the town, but that doesn't mean that that can't change. I think one of the things that we will be learning over the next several years is that if you want something done, many times you're going to have to be the one person who starts the tidal wave. Again, the people who are painting posts and fences for the town, or the kids who are rebuilding the playgrounds. They've taken the ball in their court, and they are moving forward with making Wareham a better place. If you are really upset that the library is down to 18 hours a week, 15 hours a week, then I urge you to get hold of one of those groups and help them fund the library outside of the town inability to do it.
Mr. Holmes.
There for a
It's
second.
okay. Mr. Holmes.
Okay. I was going to ask you, I understand most of what you said, but when you were asking you, I mean, who are you talking to? There's the Friends, there's the trustees,
And the front.
and then you have the foundation. The foundation and the Friends are outside of town, and the trustees are appointed by us.
Yes, but they are under the aegis of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Their regulations come from the Commonwealth.
So there are three groups.
That's correct.
Last I knew, they were working pretty well. I didn't quite. I'm trying to understand what you're talking about working well together.
Well, let's be blunt. The library took a big hit. If each one of those groups has 10 people, there are 30 people who could have made a tidal wave of activity, who could have been working over the years to improve the funding of the library. It sounds like I'm being critical, but I'm asking a question instead of being critical. I'm asking how come, if we have this number of people, that they have not been able to prolong the life of something that is integral to the town.
I can answer that question. The foundation, now the trustees aside, because they have nothing to do with that, but the Friends and the foundation over the years have contributed mass amounts of money for books, for and all these other sorts of things, maintenance, the building, the work down in Onset, and the list goes on. Priscilla Porter and all of those people over the years, and there are too many, I shouldn't have mentioned Priscilla, but there are too many over the years who have done that. Where I thought you were going with this was, my question is, why can't the town, if they've donated all this money over the years, why can't the town count that with the state? Because they won't count that money. They only count what we budget. If you took the money that was donated and given by the Friends, by the foundation, it would be a very different picture. So my question is, why isn't that money counted? It's very, disillusioning that these people go out and raise all this money, they donate all this money, and then they turn around and we say, oh, we're going to decertify your library because we didn't put any money into it. Well, that's not really true.
Well,
the citizens put a lot of money into it, but the state denies that money.
We can make this as a
I'm sorry. Yeah,
separate
topic. Forget it there, but I mean, there's a long history there, but there's a lot of money being given. But I was just trying to figure out what you were going there. That's all.
Mr. Tropiano?
No, okay.
Liaison report from you, sir.
So,
You're all set?
that was it.
Are you all set?
My question.
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead. I've got a
Okay,
few.
so, you have a few? Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to sneak in under the bell here then. All right, so I've met with Guy Campina down at the sewer department, as the board has requested. We've spent some time going through quite a litany of issues. I don't want to bring them all up now, but there are a couple I'd like to just point out that we need to be acting on and thinking about. For one, we did the grease thing today, which is good. We got that kind of on its way. The Swiss Beach thing's going to be coming up and kind of going along a little faster than I realized, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do that. At some point, we're going to have to maybe break it into sections and start along the water areas first and then move up and move into others so that we can keep the cost under control as far as how much money we're going to need to come up with all at one time. So we're going to need to start talking about that, and everybody should start thinking about that in their head. Yeah, it'll be in the sewer meeting. The other thing that we discussed, and I'm in a total agreement with this, is we got to get off the pot with this EDU versus water rates. Now, I'm inclined, and I think he's inclined, and I think everybody in this board is already inclined to move towards water in, water out, with some determination. Some alterations of whether there's a base rate or whatever there is. And all these workshop meetings, look, we've had enough workshop meetings. We had enough stuff. What we need to do now is we hired Ty and Bond at some point to put the package together and get us going. I think now it's time for the Water Pollution Control System to get them to step up to the plate and come up with a plan as far as what guidance we want to give them. And I think we're prepared to do that. I certainly am prepared to do that. I think Guy has some ideas. I'm sure Mr. Sullivan has some ideas. But we need to get somebody to start working on the numbers and getting this thing underway so that we can see, with an EDU rate, we're not very solvent. We're not in very good condition. It's not because it's not justifiable in a lot of cases. It's sort of this willy-nilly thing. We need to have something we can put our hands on. Plus, we have a lot of things in this town that we're not billing for now in our EDU rates. We have some people that are giving us some stuff that we have to treat that everybody else is paying for. That's not fair to the rate users either. And if we want to continue to keep the costs low to the rate users, we really got to start stepping up to the plate with this one and really get it done. And no more meetings. Yeah, we'll bring it on next month. Yeah, but enough. I mean, you know, these workshop meetings don't ever seem to get anywhere. We just keep talking and nothing ever happens. If it's after the fact, we want to have meetings with the public and let them know what we're moving towards and that kind of thing. I get that. But we're getting no place with a lot of this stuff. We get nowhere, and I'd like to see it get moved on because it's been going on a long time now. All right. The last thing is we have some issues with the way betterments were charged on some properties, and especially in some commercial properties. And we're going to have to deal with that, and I'll bring that up later on, too. So that's something else we're going to talk about. I have some maps and some things that we need to talk about. But there's a whole lot of litany of stuff, and now I get what he was talking about, because there is a lot of stuff that's sort of sitting there on the table, and apparently it's been sitting on the table for a long time. And, you know, and to his credit, he's trying to move it forward. And to his credit, that's good. I mean, we all have to agree that that's a good thing once we start to move this stuff forward. Yeah, we'll talk about some of them next week. I'll give them to him. We can't talk about them all next week because it's just too much, but we'll talk about a little bit of it. But I just wanted to give you guys some things to put in your head as we move forward, okay? And I'm going to be meeting again tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and I'm sure we'll be able to maybe get this stuff a little more defined for you guys as time goes on. That's what I have with the water pollution control facility.
Okay. Planning Board met last night. The Dollar General store site plan review was finalized, approved, with conditions, as they always are. I would expect to see groundbreaking probably with less than a month for that old White Pines Motel location. The piece of property, which is called Route 28 and Toby Road, which is the piece in front of Walmart, site plan review was approved last night with conditions, which basically has 2 restaurants, building in the middle, and it has a 4th pad, which I saw a sign, I'm not sure if it's accurate or not, talking about a urgent care facility somewhere in the area there, so I'm not sure where it's going. But there was a sign on that. Next week, Bay Point is coming to the planning board on Monday to present their program. I think it's a preliminary for site plan review for them. Make a note to everybody, the launch service, which Gary has implemented, is also available for residents on the other side of Burgess Point. If you want to call up the launch service and get picked up and go to the Stonebridge restaurant or go into Onset itself to any of the restaurants there, they will pick you up for a fee, obviously, take you over, and the service goes like 8 in the morning to 8 at night and take you back home again. So you can drink and have fun too and not worry about it. But it is available, and it's something that's done in a lot of harbors where people actually have homes along the water, and that launch service is used for that as much as picking people out of the boats. So I hope people take advantage of that. There's a few other things, but it's late enough tonight, I won't get into them. Nothing
Okay.
urgent.
All right, next up, authorization to sign bills. There aren't any. I'll get to you, Rich, don't worry. First, I want to, the minutes for May 20th. If anybody's got their minutes, I'd like to move approval of the May 20th, 2014 regularly scheduled Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting.
Second.
No.
Second.
Mr. Tropiano, motion, second by Ms. Whiteside. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Is this the
401.
one? Was it June 3rd? No. Okay, next, the June 3rd minutes from the regular Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting. For what?
Okay. Did you vote positive on that one, Patrick?
What?
You were absent, May 20th.
Was I absent on May 20th?
Yeah. We need to take the vote back. Thank you, Steve.
Oh, I was here. There's 2 sets of minutes. There's 2 sets of minutes. I was here. Peter started the minutes, and I came in late. And then, Yeah, then I came in late and I took over. So there's sort of a half-half meeting.
Is there any note in the minutes that you came in?
No.
Why don't you make a
Well, it's
note?
gotta
Yeah.
be somewhere.
If it's not, make a note of
I
it.
think it's separated somehow. Hold on. I'll figure it out. It was a half-half meeting. I came in late,
All right.
and Peter had started it, so
We'll leave it at 401, but just make a note of the
Okay.
minutes.
I'll get it correct. I'll get it straightened out. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see it. Okay, next
All right,
one.
June 3rd, minutes. Everyone was here.
It was that it wasn't.
Yeah, see,
They bury it.
Yeah,
because I wrote that in.
I know.
That's the one I wrote in, yeah.
But-
Oh, yeah, we voted it
Yeah.
already.
Mhm.
You want me to correct it?
Yeah. No, he shouldn't have,
Maybe that's not the meeting we're thinking of then.
yeah, no, it is. You were absent and Mr. Holmes was absent,
Yeah,
so
we have to
Mr.
wait for
Titlebaum was the clerk pro tem. This
Oh.
is the set of
This
minutes
is a
that
different
actually
one.
had,
This is a different set, hold on.
can we go back and rescind the vote on,
Wait a minute. What, I think,
because,
Hold on.
here's what happened on May 20th. Wasn't that when you were at Bud's funeral?
All right, I move that we rescind the vote of May 20th, 2014 for the regular meeting of the Selectmen Sewer
Second.
Commissioners.
I can clarify what happened on May 20th. The
Okay.
chairman was absent for the first 20 or 30 minutes of the meeting
No, it
due to a
wasn't.
funeral.
No.
This was not the one.
it's not,
This
that's
was
not the one.
I was clerk pro tem twice?
Because I was the clerk. This was not the one.
Peter, 3 people were here that night.
That night, it was only 3 of us here.
So,
Okay.
you need to read that correctly.
Yeah, so you're gonna take a vote on that rescind?
Vote to rescind the previous vote on
Aye.
minutes
Aye.
of May 20th,
Okay.
500.
All right, okay, so, now, there's a correction first off. Relax. Take it easy, we'll get you taken
Ooh.
care of. All right, so, there was only 3 of us, 3 people present for the meeting, and Mr. Holmes and myself were both absent on this
Correct.
particular meeting. So, on the May 20th, 2014 Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting, I move that we approve them with one correction. And if you look down on page 4, you'll come down and you'll see that it doesn't say this, but it's under D, request for use of town property. Selectman Whiteside second that, and I put it in there. I wrote it in place.
Second.
Okay?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain. you go.
302.
Thank you. All right, now, June 3rd minutes for the regular Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting, I move that we approve. Everything's fine with these.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs.
You
Whiteside.
don't
Any
sign
questions?
No.
All in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Aye.
He doesn't.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Okay, the next is the regular Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting for May 27, 2014. I move that we approve those minutes.
Second.
Which one are you doing now?
I'm doing May 27,
You're doing that one
2014.
now.
You
Get out
guys
of the way.
don't sign them anyway. You don't sign any of
No,
those.
I don't want to give it to Peter.
I don't know why we gave it to you.
It says Peter sign on this one.
Peter signed that one, and I signed these.
Never
All right, so
mind.
there's a motion on the floor and seconded for May 27, 2014.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
Okay.
302.
Next, I have a bill for the approval of payment for the law office of Richard Bowen in the amount of $15,000.
Take a motion on that, please.
I move that we approve the $15,000
Second.
payment.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
The end, ladies and gentlemen. A
Motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Wareham.